There. So my name is Lisa Callahan, and I am the founder here of the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group on Facebook. And I'm also the founder of a program called Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System, which is where I teach women how to identify their invisible emotional relationship with food through a journey of self-discovery. So today, our topic is called How I Feed My Face in the Mirror. How do I feed the face in the mirror? And it's all about being able to talk kindly to yourself and to be able to see how it is that you are talking to yourself. So I use that little play on words because many times when we think about feeding our face, we think about stuffing ourselves with food. And we think about like shoving things in and just feeding our face. And we look at it as a really negative thing. The way that I want you to look at it, though, is I want you to think about how it is that you look at yourself in the mirror and what is it that you are feeding to your face in the mirror, the one that you're looking at, the person that you're talking to. What are you feeding that person? How is your relationship going? Are you saying nice things to that person in the mirror? Are you saying mean things to that person in the mirror? And then what is the expectation of that person in the mirror? Why do you look at that person in the mirror and say things that you don't want to feel, that you wouldn't be happy if somebody else was saying to you, and you certainly wouldn't be talking like that to anybody else? So for today, it's going to be really important to see where it is that you might be getting stuck using your own words as a ricochet to bounce back into your body and how that's affecting your internal self. And number one, why you're doing that. Number two, what purpose is that serving for your future self? Meaning that we're living today. We have a past and we certainly hope to have a future. So how are you planting seeds in your mind today for what it is that you want to grow in the future? Are you planting seeds that are going to be fertile? Are you planting seeds that are going to grow beautiful flowers? Are they going to grow into beautiful things? Or are they just going to turn into weeds? Because weeds don't require that much attention. Like weeds will just pop up all over the place, anywhere, random. Like they don't require much attention. And yet we need to be able to see what kind of seeds that we're planting for ourselves, because what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to give ourselves attention. That's the whole point. You want to be able to be self-interested. So many times we put so many things in front of ourselves that we don't have time for ourselves. And if that's the case in your situation, then I urge you to stop right there and be able to take a look at that person in the mirror and see that person as a whole human being, a wholehearted human being. Because we know that you certainly care, and you certainly care about other people, and you do care about yourself, but you're in the background. And if you're doing that, I have to say, let's talk about it today. Because we want to be able to make certain that it's not just about what you're putting into your mouth. What you're putting into your mouth is a symptom of an underlying problem. And any weight that you're putting on because of this symptom, it's a symptom of a root cause. And if we don't figure out what that root cause is, well, you're just going to keep feeding this negative energy into yourself over and over. And if you keep feeding the negative energy into yourself over and over and then are expecting to get something amazing to grow out of that, well, that doesn't even make sense. So today, when we talk about this topic, I want you to really think about a couple of things. Number one, I want you to think, is the person that I'm talking to in the mirror the actual present person that's standing in front of me? Or am I talking to a past version of myself? And this is a really interesting question because for me personally, I I was typically underweight in my life, in my journey. And the reason why I was underweight in my life, in my journey, is because I freaking starved myself to death. I would go for weeks with just drinking like lemon water and different mixes of things that were really just like cleanses, like just things that I was trying to be able to detox my body and cleanse and lose weight quickly. And when I was doing that, I was actually very unhealthy. I was unhealthy in my body because my stomach was a mess. I was unhealthy in my head because I couldn't sleep and I couldn't stop thinking. I couldn't sit for 5 seconds. I tried, but my rapid eye movement was like, and tell me in the chat if you're watching here on Facebook Live. We're on Instagram also, and I've never done this before, so hopefully it's turning out well. But if you're on Facebook Live with me here, go ahead and put in the chat if you close your eyes and if your eyes just start like bunging from back and forth, back and forth. But that's how it was for me. And I recognized it, and yet I didn't know how to stop it. And I didn't even realize why I needed to stop it. And I didn't know why I was doing it, but it was something deep within. And if I tried to even so much as sit down for a second, my eyes would just twitter and I couldn't focus. So my body was unhealthy. My mind was unhealthy. My heart would race all the time. I had tremendous anxiety and I was just unhealthy in my energy. My energy was very fake. I was trying to, be a bunch of things to a bunch of people, but to myself, every time I looked in the mirror, and I don't care what I weighed, every time I looked in the mirror, I looked at myself with absolute and utter disgust. And I would just look in the mirror and my eyes would immediately dart to my stomach. And I would just be like, oh, disgusting. And so it didn't really matter what I weighed because, like I said, a lot of times I was underweight. Sometimes I would gain 2 or 3 pounds. Sometimes I put on 10 pounds and then I was ready to, really, I was like ready to kill myself. This was something that felt just so energetically wrong to me because I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. And if you're feeling that way, I have to tell you, that is not how you're supposed to be feeling. It's just not. And so if you're feeding the face in the mirror all of these thoughts, I need you to make sure that you're talking to the person who's in front of you today and that you're not talking to a past version of yourself that you either want to aspire to be like, or in my case, that you couldn't forgive. Because I had things in my past that I could not forgive myself for. And so no matter how good of a person I tried to be, it didn't matter because underneath the surface, I knew who I was. And I was so intent on reminding myself over and over again of what a piece of shit I was that I couldn't seem to get away from it. No matter how much good things I did for other people or what my weight was on the scale or how I stuck with my diet or all the good things that I did, I couldn't seem to get away from that, like that little sneaky underneath the surface place where it was like, I know who you are. I remember you. You're not getting away so scotch-free. And so when I talked to myself, I couldn't see the person who was in front of me, the one who was trying to succeed, the one who was aspiring to be better. Like I wanted to be a better person. It's just that there was this underneath the side surface of me that was like, not so fast. And that's why every time that I tried to do something really amazing, or I thought that I did really well, I would end up self-sabotaging. And I couldn't figure out why. It's like, my gosh, like I'm just at this level now where like I am doing well and I'm eating healthy and I'm clean and I'm doing and I'm going and then I would like suck the rug out from under myself. And I couldn't figure out why I was doing it. But then I learned through self-discovery that it was underneath the surface of my conscious awareness. So I didn't know I was doing it. So I want you to really think that about yourself. Is the way that you're talking to yourself in the mirror, are you talking to the person that you are right now, today. Because if you're struggling, if you're suffering, if you're having a hard time and you're talking to yourself in a mean way, I mean, think about it. Like, how would you talk to a person who you knew was struggling and suffering and having a hard time? Would you talk to them meanly and be like, yeah, you should feel like this. You deserve it. Would you do that? Like, seriously, think about it. If you really saw someone struggling, would you continue to poke and prod and do? And if you did, would that make you feel great about yourself? Probably not. I mean, it might at the beginning if it was something where somebody had done something to you and you kind of felt like you didn't care, but deep down inside, it wouldn't feel good. It wouldn't really feel good. You might say it feels good, but deep down inside, you kind of know it doesn't. And that's where the mismatch is, because we're trying to be good people. We're trying to aspire to do the right thing. Like I've said in other videos that I've made, like you would literally dive into the middle of the road to save a child or a puppy or something, right? Like you have passions and purposes. You have things that you want to aspire to be. But then when you talk to yourself, something changes. And I want to know, is this somebody that you're talking to from the past? So in Crush That Food Thing self-discovery system the other day, we were talking about one of the ladies was having trouble because she felt like she didn't understand what had happened in her life. And she was like, my gosh, like just 2 years ago, like I was, thin and attractive and I was working out and I was doing all the things. I was spinning 4 times a week and I was eating healthy, and now I put on all this weight. And like, what happened to me? Like, where did that girl go? Where did that like perfect girl go? And it was interesting because what we shared and how we helped her get through this was by saying, okay, so let's go back and look at that girl, that one who was skinny and attractive and this and that and the other thing. Who was she comparing herself to in the world? How did she know she was attractive? How did she know she was skinny? Like, what was she comparing herself to? And was she judgmental? Was she a person who judged others? Like, when she stared at herself in the mirror, did she say, wow, I look good and compared to all my other friends who are also 50? Like, right? Was it a judgment? And if that is the case, now, because she's taking a journey of self-discovery and we are a judgment-free zone, we want to be able to see the human person, like the wholehearted person, the entire person, not the person who compares and judges and blames and shames and guilts and regrets. Like, we don't want to bring that person up to the surface. We want to bring the wholehearted person up to the surface, because I know that if somebody else had put on weight, if a neighbor, friend, a parent, whatever, that more than likely you wouldn't say to them, oh my gosh, you look disgusting right now. Like, you wouldn't do that. And yet at the same time, if you're saying stuff like that in your head, it's still ricocheting into you. If you're judging and comparing yourself to your image, how your image looks against other people's, then you're not being wholehearted to yourself. You're not being kind to yourself. You're also not being kind to others, even though you want to be. But what you think and what you say has to match. Because if it doesn't, then you have a problem in your own integrity within yourself. Not about other people, just within yourself. And you may think you're not judging. You might, because I never thought I was judging. I never did. But yet at the same time, I made certain that I never gained a pound because I didn't want anybody thinking that about me. So I was comparing, I was judging, I was, but I didn't think I was. And so when you're talking to that girl in the mirror, is that the girl who you're talking to that, oops, hang on. Just trying to do Instagram. I may have messed it up. Okay. I don't know. I'm going to turn it off. Well, we tried. Is that girl that you're talking to a past version of yourself that you don't necessarily want to aspire to be as a whole? Meaning, when we talked to this gal in our coaching group, I said to her, you know, the girl who is back then and the girl who's now, she's working really hard to open up new headspace for herself so that she doesn't fall into that trap of judging herself and blaming herself and shaming herself and guilting herself. Like, that's a lot of pressure, and it's also not sustainable. You want to make certain that what you're choosing for your life is sustainable. And if you're setting your expectations of yourself so high on the mark that they're not achievable, that they're not sustainable, and they're not enjoyable either, because let me tell you something. A few times in my life, I did bodybuilding, figure competition, and I had to go on an extremely strict diet. And I promise you that if you take 4 to 6 months out of your life and you never, ever, ever eat anything, and I'm not kidding, never, not on a birthday party, not on a special occasion, not on a weekend, not on a Friday night, ever. If you choose to do this for 6 months and you eat egg whites, plain tuna, no mayonnaise, no bread, no nothing, no carrots even, no carrots. Carrots are sugar, right? This is the bodybuilding competition. This is tuna, egg whites, plain chicken breast, plain turkey breast, fish, oatmeal, sweet potatoes, broccoli, asparagus, green beans. 10 foods. I ate that for 5 months. And yeah, I got into competition shape. Woohoo! Then what? What am I doing with that afterwards? You do that on a cycle. You diet, you go off of it, you gain a ton of weight. You diet, you go off of it, you gain a ton of weight. And that is the bodybuilder cycle. So I promise you that if you eat just those 10 foods and nothing else, and only drink water, no coffee, no milk, nothing, water, period, end of story, then yeah, you'll lose weight. But what will that leave you with? What kind of life will that leave you with? Not much, because you're just so focused on like where your food is and counting all the stuff and making sure you have a container, because if you're out, you have to have a salad in your purse. Like, you have to make sure that you are just so on the mark. It takes away from real living. And it's okay if that's what you're doing at that time, but at the same time, it's not sustainable for your life, period. It's just not. It goes in cycles. You diet, you get off. You diet, you get off. It's a cycle. But in between the cycle, you have to be able to come out of that and be able to have a life, right? So this is where I want to make sure, and this is what I told this woman that I was coaching, is like, are you going back to a past version of yourself that wasn't as kind and wholehearted as you are today, and asking that past version of yourself for advice? Is that what you're doing? And if that's what you're doing, we have to rethink this plan. Because if I went back and asked the version of myself from like 10 years ago for the roadmap to my happiness, I'd be in freaking trouble. I don't want to ask her for advice. Plus, let me just say this. If that girl who lost all the weight at one time, blah, 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 whatever, so 50 pounds, 80 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever. If that girl who lost all the weight, if she had all the answers, why did you leave her to begin with? Right? If she had all the answers, what made you step away from her? It doesn't make sense. So I want you to really think about who you're asking in the mirror for advice, right? And who are you talking to? You want to be kind to yourself now, this girl now. So think about that. The second thing is, I want you to think about when you're talking to yourself in the mirror, how would you speak to a friend? Really think about this, because if you hate yourself and if you are not going to speak kindly to yourself, then you have to then question how much effort you're going to put in to your changes that you want to make when you can barely look in the mirror and want to be around you. So like seriously, like how much time are you going to want to devote to yourself, right? You have to think about this. It's logic. It's like if you're going to sit there and look at that girl in the mirror, and you're going to be like, you're a slob, you're fat, you're a piece of, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you're trying to tell that same girl to put in like gobs amount of effort to like, let's go for a walk, Sally, It's like, but you just told Sally how horrible she is. Sally's gonna tell you, she's gonna be like, I don't think so, girl. We're not going anywhere because guess what? You don't even like us. So why am I going somewhere with you? It seems like a backdoor approach to looking at this, but it's really true because we can't understand why it is that we can't motivate ourselves to do the things that we say we want to do. But then at the same time, it's just like second nature to look in the mirror and speak awful about yourself. But then we expect ourselves to do all these like high quality things while we're filling our face in the mirror with low quality energy. Does that make sense? I mean, at the same time, if your food that's entering your mouth, that is filling into your mouth, is filled with low quality energy, then you have to also understand that that too is going to add another like notch on the on the ladder, right? Because if you're eating food that's got dead energy in it, like all of the packaged food has dead energy, it's like a bag of stuff, right? That dead energy, if it enters your mouth and then goes into your body, like what do you think it's giving you? It's dead energy. So if you're not going to give yourself supportive energy in the mirror or in your mouth, well, I mean, how are you expecting this ship to operate? I don't understand it. And yet, for 30 years of my life, I basically sat there and was like, I know what I'm doing. I just got to go on a diet. This is what I have to do. Like I knew that. And I was so wrong. Period. So think about it. When you're talking into the mirror, are you filling yourself, are you filling your face? Are you looking at your face and filling your face with empowering information? Or are you filling your mindset or your headspace with old and limiting information? Like, is it limiting beliefs that you're filling your head with? Or is it empowering beliefs that you're filling your face with? What are you filling your face with? So the last thing that I want you to think about is, and I kind of just talked about this a little bit, but let's say that your neighbor came out of her house every day, and every day you were like taunting her, teasing her, ridiculing her, making fun of her, making her life miserable. Let's say that every day your neighbor came out of her house and every day you just did the same thing, made her life miserable. And she was sort of helpless. She really couldn't say much back. Like, she just took it. She was like, okay, I'm just going to take it. But then let's say that you asked her then to really apply her attention towards you. And you were like, hey, Gladys, can you help me remodel my entire house? Like, can you help me like decorate and like we're gonna tear down walls, we're changing everything, like we're remodeling the whole thing, like new construction. Can you help me over here? She might not want to. She might, even if she's the nicest lady in the world, she might be like, you think I'm washing my hair that night? She might not want to do it. And the reason why she might not want to do it is because, like, you're not that nice to her. So I know I kind of talked about that in the second one. I snuck it in, but I really want you to think about that concept and think about what you're asking yourself to do. Because we have these huge expectations on ourselves. Like, we think that we're going to come in and we're going to do this like makeover for 3 days and the whole thing's not going to be done. And then we're like, oh, screw it, I'm not even doing it anyways. So that doesn't make sense either. So I really wanted you to think about what it is that you're filling your face with. And I really want you to also think about how it is that you're setting your expectations for yourself. And are those expectations superficial expectations? Like, are they surface level, or are you actually getting to the root cause of the problem? Because if you don't know the why as to why you're doing these things, then you have no opportunity to change. Because when you're thinking that this is a surface level problem, but yet at the same time, you're intuitive. So you kind of say to yourself, yeah, might be, could be, I'm not sure. I think it started when, like, if you have any of those stories, which you probably do, you're going to have to think about it, and you're going to have to be able to use your wholehearted soul, like your soulful place, to be able to touch base and to be able to see what is it that I'm protecting within myself from the things that may have happened in the past. And who is it that I am protecting in the past? Like, what version of me am I feeding my face with now? And am I okay with being able to start from scratch? Like, am I okay with being able to open my mindset and take in new information so that I can take some of those things that I'm telling myself and literally throw them into the garbage because they're not valuable? So something that I teach my ladies in Crush That Food Thing is I teach them not to believe everything they think. You don't have to, there's no written rules that say, like, just because you're thinking it, you have to believe it. It seems like, okay, well, how can I not think it? And yet at the same time, you have to be able to say to yourself, is the way that I'm thinking meant to help me grow? Or is the way that I'm thinking meant to keep me stuck? And if it's meant to keep you stuck, then you have to ask yourself, am I talking in the mirror to a past version of myself? Or am I talking kindly to the woman in the mirror who right now is struggling, and maybe who has been struggling for decades? Am I okay being nice to her? And if not, then how can I work on forgiving her, or forgiving someone in the past who hurt her, who made her think that she needed to feel this way about herself? So this is what we do in Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System. Really, we work from the inside out. We bring ourselves to a new level of awareness so that way we can get to the root cause of the problem. Because truthfully, this is an invisible relationship that's going on here. So logic does not play a role in this. You can spend the next, 10 decades, whatever, 100 years, trying to change the habits. You will be successful at times. However, we also don't use the word success in self-discovery. And the reason why we don't use the word success in self-discovery, or why I don't anyways, is because sometimes what we think is successful is actually a comparison to the way that we think about other people. And then that becomes a judgment. And remember, we're a judgment-free zone. So if you think that you were successful because you lost 20 pounds and then you put on 50, and then you're like mad at yourself because you were successful back then and what happened? You have to go back and you have to think, is that what success really looks like? Is that what I want? Do I want to be feeling like I have to always compare myself to others? Do I want to feel like I always have to judge myself? If so, then go for it. Have at it. That's your choice. And it's a good choice because it'll be serving your best interest for what it is that you say you want. If what you say you want matches what you're choosing, and then it equals the results that you're looking for, wow, that's flipping amazing. But if what you say you want is mismatched from the choices that you're making, and it's giving you results that you say you do not want, then we have a problem. So if you want to chat, I have a couple of opportunities. We can do that on a clarity call, and there's a link in this training below. I also do a free masterclass once a month, and it happens to be this week, so there is a link for that as well. But other than that, I'm very available. You can reach out anytime. Again, my name is Lisa Callahan, and I'm so happy that you joined me today for this training. All right, bye now. And thank you, Amanda, for watching. I see you. Bye.